Hello everybody and welcome to this new spreadsheet video where I go over 14 stocks that I've been looking at over the past few days. So let me first begin with two of the stocks, which are Tesla and Enphase. So my spreadsheet really doesn't do a good job with stocks that are financed because these stocks have seen a major drop in their growth rates. You know, Tesla's predicted to grow at 18% by analysts, Enphase 12%. The reason for that is because either company, you need to borrow $40,000 to buy the product, and thus we have a clear market slowdown that we don't have for any of the other company, which are either B2B businesses or smaller ticket items. So I just want to point out that my spreadsheet really doesn't do any justice to companies like Tesla and Enphase because those growth rates have gotten halved, even divided by 3 at times, and thus the numbers don't look really good right now. If you look at my enterprise value over gross profit over revenue growth metric for these stocks, which answers the question, how much am I paying for each percentage point of growth in this company? That revenue growth, how much am I paying for that revenue growth? You can see that for both Tesla and Enphase, next 12-month revenue growth is pretty expensive. Now, of course, when you look at these companies, what matters is what's going to be over the long run, the growth, what the growth is going to be over the next 10 years. And I fully expect the growth for these companies to rebound clearly. And they are pretty close to a rule of 40, but not quite. And Enphase will soon be at a rule of 40 because the growth rate will come back. For Tesla, of course, the growth rate will come back too. But Tesla is also suffering from lower margins right now because they are cutting their prices, which is something that Enphase is not doing. So moving on to another stock that this time my spreadsheet works for CrowdStrike. So CrowdStrike, if you don't know CrowdStrike, they're a leader in endpoint cybersecurity, antivirus, networked antivirus. Hundreds of millions of devices that have this cloud cybersecurity software that is called Falcon software, sold by CrowdStrike, and CrowdStrike is clearly the leader in that space. My spreadsheet works for CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike did not see a slowdown in sales due to interest rates. They are predicted to grow at 40%, but CrowdStrike is simply an expensive stock. At a 0.87, it is expensive. I am not selling. I'm actually very positive about the future growth in the stock price for this company. But when you look at EV over revenue, it's a SaaS company. SaaS companies are expensive. It's just the way it is. But the growth rate is here and the EBITDA profitability will come back. CrowdStrike also sees some support in its stock price because they gave us 2029 guidance, including amazing 10 billion in ARR guidance by 2030. So CrowdStrike, because of that, still shines. I'm happy to own it for the long run, but I'm not adding to it right now because I'm up close, 150% or something on the shares I'm up. So I'm not selling, not taking a tax hit, but keeping the stock, not adding to it now. Moving on to more interesting stocks as of now, and these quote-unquote more interesting stocks are, what are they? Well, they are HIMS, Shockwave, Lantheus, and Transmedics. So HIMS on this channel, HIMS needs no introduction, and I am reusing the sandbagged guidance given by Andrew Durham, which is 38% over the next 12 months. The gross margin has increased for HIMS. It's 83% now, their gross margin. This past quarter, they achieved 9% EBITDA margin. If you add all of this up, HIMS is not the cheapest stock in my coverage universe. HIMS is now the second cheapest stock in my coverage. The cheapest stock, you saw it right here if you pause the spreadsheet, it's Stonye is the cheapest, not HIMS anymore. This is a big change in the spreadsheet because HIMS used to be the cheapest. Not anymore after a 35% run. Nonetheless, that stock is now the second cheapest. It's still extremely cheap. This stock, in my view, has not run nearly enough to get towards the middle of the range of my EV over gross profit over revenue growth ratio. It hasn't run nearly enough. HIMS is, of course, an e-pharmacy, e-doctor without an insurance. It is revolutionizing the healthcare system, or what I call the healthcare system, which comes before sick care. That's where healthcare stands. HIMS is all about prevention, preventative medication, preventative prescriptions, and they are doing very well. The rule of 40 for HIMSS is a 47%, which is excellent. It's more than 40%. When you reach more than 40%, you're considered a very attractive stock. And keep in mind that guidance is sent back likely from HIMSS. Moving on to Shockwave. So Shockwave is a stock that got a little expensive from when I started covering it. Shockwave is a medical device that helps you break calcium deposits. Very innovative medical device using sound waves in order to do a medical procedure, a legacy medical procedure that has been around for a long time. Anyways, I was very compelled by the stock when the stock was trading about 30 to 40% cheaper than what it is now. I find the company more expensive now. Nonetheless, they are still predicted to grow at 27% per their guidance. The gross margin is outstanding for a physical product. This is a medical device. This is a physical product. At 87% gross margin, you're getting into rarefied hair right there. And the EBITDA margin is, of course, very high too at 24%. So this is a rule of 51, and it's right in the middle as far as the valuation goes of my EV over gross profit over revenue growth. Moving on to Lantheus. In Lantheus, I was disappointed to see the guided growth this year. They've guided for a market slowdown in growth, only guiding 14% growth. So, of course, when you go from close to 50% growth guide to 14% growth guide, you know, it used to be a top 5 cheapest stock in my spreadsheet for Lantheus. Now it is just a second tier cheapest stock at a 0.37. So Lantheus got expensive by virtue of that growth rate coming down. And I don't really know if they're sandbagging or not. All I know is that I'm not adding to Lantheus again, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens to the growth in the next quarter and see if they actually sandbagged or not. And in that space, after HIMSS, in the healthcare space, the stock that I'm the most confident in after HIMSS is a stock that was recommended by my community and that I dismissed at first, but I've learned to really like, which is Transmedics. Transmedics, in this environment, keep in mind, guided. This is the CEO guide. The CEO guided for 53% next 12-month revenue growth. So that's the number from the CEO. So this is a stock that's going to grow at 50% over the next 12 months. They have 64% gross margin. It is almost a first tier, not quite, but almost a first tier cheapest stock. But again, this is a company growing very fast, used to be growing even faster, and very appealing in the medical sector. And as far as rule of 40 goes, this is the most appealing stock out of the 4 healthcare stocks that I'm presenting to you, the most appealing as far as the rule of 40 go. Transmedics, as a reminder, is a organ care system that helps with organ donors. They help preserve organs during the time that they are donated to the time that they are transferred to a patient, and they also have a organ transportation business with an airline. So Transmedics is an interesting company. Lantheus, I didn't cover Lantheus. Lantheus is a radiopharmaceutical company. What they do is they sell radiopharmaceutical, and notably one that helps you see cancer when others can't. So it helps you, they have a product that helps them detect prostate cancer, which is becoming mainstream and becoming the norm in prostate cancer screening in the United States. I'm positive about all of these companies, by the way, and I own all of them. I own all of the stocks that I've presented so far in this spreadsheet. Moving on to a stock that I'm going to buy and another stock that I'm planning to buy too, but I haven't gotten around to it, and a stock that I've been owning for a while, which is Celsius. So let me go on for the first one. On Holdings. So On Holdings is running shoes. They are a running shoe business, direct to consumer, undercutting Nike, undercutting the legacy shoe business that relies on distributor. Right? When you DTC sales, you don't need to share the profits with a distributor. Actually, On Running has a compelling valuation at a 0.18 on my EV over GP over RG metric. So that's compelling. That's first tier. That's even top 20% right there. And the rule of 40 is excellent at 62%. This is a company that is predicted to grow at 51% with good gross margin for the apparel sector. This is an excellent gross margin at 59%. And again, people are happy with the shoes. People are saying a lot of good things about their shoes. Now, I'm not a runner, so take that with a grain of salt. But this brand seems to be sort of a phenomenon, especially in major cities of the world. And so it will be interesting to see what becomes of them. Then the other company that I own, but that I've stopped buying. As of today, I've stopped buying this one because it's expensive now. The stock shot up well over 20% yesterday, and that is Celsius Holdings. Celsius Holdings is an energy drink, an energy beverage that has taken the US by storm, and that is everywhere in every single department store in the US. They've just entered Canada a few weeks ago. They are entering the United Kingdom in the coming quarter, and they will be going to Europe, and their sales in Europe are showing no signs of abating. Their sales are doing very well. So this is a stock but despite looking expensive on an EV over revenue basis, if you take into account that they are predicted to grow 79%, growing their sales by 79% over the next 12 months, if you take that into account, you actually get a great a price for that stock on my EV over GP over RG out of a 0.37. So that's a very good price right here for that kind of growth. And they are the absolute winner when it comes to Rule of 40 at a Rule of 96. So this is a stock that could break a Rule of 100, which I've almost never seen. I mean, this is almost impossible to find. Moving on to Oddity. So Oddity is an odd company, to say the least. What they do, their main product is a makeup foundation. It's called Il Maquillage, and it's an AI-driven foundation that women really love. They scan their face in the app, and then they get a customized product, and the foundation is supposed to be exactly the color of your skin, overcoming one of the main hurdles when women buy makeup. Anyways, obviously, I'm more interested in the numbers on this one. And the numbers are outstanding. They're predicted to grow at 50%. The gross margin is 70%. You can see the stock is trading under 5 times revenue. My EV over gross profit over revenue growth is a 0.13 on this one. So this is the third cheapest company that I cover on this spreadsheet, the third cheapest. And the rule of 40 is 70%. 70. So that's an outstanding rule right here at 70. EBITDA margin is very high for a company this young. Oddity is a stock I am planning to add shortly. I've been focusing on adding some Bitcoin lately, which is why I haven't been adding as much to some other stocks. Moving on to my payments and my Fintech stocks. So there's 2 new stocks here that you may have not seen me cover on the channel. One of them is Pagaya. One of them is Shift4. Now, Pagaya is actually not in the payments space. They're in the AI lending space, but nonetheless, very interesting company from a valuation standpoint. They're only trading at under 2 times revenue. The company is predicted to grow 30% over the next 12 months. The gross margin is 40%. They've got a really good relationship with banks. They ended up having a partnership with US Bank and actually giving loans, approving loans through US Bank. And it's a company that I find quite interesting, and it's trading at a 0.15, so that would be the 4th cheapest in all of the stocks that I present to you, and it's already economically profitable at an 18% EBITDA margin. So again, interesting. So if you add 18% plus 30%, you're at a 48%. You're at a rule of 40 on this one for a stock that clearly, in my view, would have a margin of safety, knowing that it's trading at 1.8 times revenue, and despite that, the stock still has a gross margin of 40%. So interesting company. I am following closely this company and seeing if I'm going to do something. The other new company, before I go to Stonier, my favorite, before I go to my favorite, is a Shift4. Shift4, I find the numbers very interesting. I found it in my screener a few weeks back, in my screener of 12 or 13, was it 13 Fintech stocks that I analyzed. It is very cheap at 2.69. The revenue growth is 34% predicted, so that's also very interesting. High growth, higher than my 30% threshold, and it's in the top tier cheapest company. EBITDA margin, they're already profitable, and you had a rule of 40 or 48, which is interesting here. The only negative point that I found about Shift4, and this is going to make you laugh, is that there may be an acquisition in a few days, in a few weeks actually. In a few weeks there may be an acquisition, and so as you know, if you follow the channel for a long time, I don't like acquisitions. Acquisitions are you make a one-time 30%, 40%, and then you're denied future profit, right? The stock becomes private or is purchased by a legacy player that is asleep at the wheel, and you don't get a long-term return. I'm in stocks for multi-baggers. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a quick 30, 40%. But if someone is looking for that, that may be interesting. Shift4, if the acquisition doesn't go through, that would be one of the moments where I'd be interested in getting into the stock, because if the acquisition doesn't go through, you can bet that some of that valuation, that company has to do with the fact that they're up for sale. Lastly, Stonier is my favorite. It's the cheapest stock at a 0.07. I cannot understand how cheap this company is. It's still predicted to go at 41%. The gross margin is 74%. 0.07, like I said, on EV over gross profit over revenue growth. So well under the undervalued threshold of 0.5, and the rule of 40 is the second best in this entire spreadsheet at 87%. So StoneCo is still winning, and if you look at the EBITDA margin at 46%, this is a profitable payments company. StoneCo, if you're new to the channel, briefly, what is StoneCo? StoneCo is the Square of Brazil. They have payment terminals installed in about 3 million small businesses in Brazil, and their business is a take rate business, right? They take 2 to 3% off of the top whenever someone swipes a credit card and pays as one of their 3 million small businesses using their service. This company is still extremely cheap. It's my one cheap stock that yet has to run, right? It was Him's turn last week. In 2 weeks when they report, it might be Stonier's turn, and I've been accumulating Stonier in anticipation of this moment. And the last stock that I'll cover is my favorite e-commerce stock, which is Mercado Libre. Mercado Libre got cheaper recently at $1,600-ish. It had run almost to $1,900. It got cheaper recently, and I'm very happy about that. Mercado Libre is the leading e-commerce player in Latin America. They had a one-time accounting adjustment that kind of freaked out the market, which is the main reason why the stock is down. In my view, the stock being down is a matter of algos, and algos interpreting accounting in a certain way. This stock being down, in my view, has nothing to do with the business. If I look at Mercado Libre, I am more confident than ever in their business. They're about to ramp up their lending. They're about to ramp up their Mexico division. So Mercado Libre is still the leader in Latin America. The rule of 40 is a 46, which is good. You have 90% EBITDA margin, so this is an economically profitable business. And given this base, right, the base is 14.4 billion in revenue, right? And keeping that at 58% margin, so profitable business right there. But despite this base, they're still growing at 27%. From what I looked, this is about 3 times faster than Amazon. This is a business that is growing 3 times faster than Amazon, Mercado Libre. And Latin America is a spot that I'm very comfortable investing in. I believe they have great demographics, and the countries, the rule of law is getting better and better, and I like investing in this market. So I own Mercado Libre. I've been adding to Mercado Libre too, given how inexpensive this stock has gotten, at least relative to where it was 3 weeks ago. So these were 14 stocks. These are the 14 stocks that I'm looking at right now, and I've been looking over the past 2 weeks at Bitcoin and my Bitcoin exposure. But I don't even talk about Bitcoin on the channel because, like someone said in my comment section, I can't believe someone so smart would invest in something so dumb. So I know a lot of people do not like Bitcoin. So I didn't talk about Bitcoin, but when I do my 10 best position portfolio, I typically have Bitcoin up there along with Tesla and Enphase. So, but I didn't put it in this one. So I hope you really enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, right? This was not investment advice, no financial advice. This is just entertainment. I appreciate your likes. I appreciate your subscribes. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.